You're listening to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show, a podcast that discusses the intricacies of real estate investing with your host, Marcus E. Maloney. Marcus is a real estate investor best known for being the equity king. He's been awarded that moniker because he and his team find amazing real estate deals. He will be talking with investors who have done some transformational things in the real estate industry. They'll discuss their process, their strategies, and how their investments transform their lives and the communities they invest in. We welcome you to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show.
So we have to come to grips with ourselves, and we have to know, I'm going to tell everyone out here on this podcast, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. We're all winging it. We're all figuring it out. The ones who are successful commit and then figure it out. And I have another quote for you. Done is better than perfect, because the background looks good now. I haven't had a background like this. I've been doing podcasts for 6 years. I keep moving rooms and keep shitting around. You're never going to get it perfect. Just finish it, and then you'll learn from that mistake, move on, and you'll get even better and better and better. We always just sitting there going, I'm not ready yet. You're never going to be ready. You're going to be ready when you're ready. So for me, can you imagine I'm sitting in the shed putting away tins and I'm talking about doing $11 million. And ironically enough, that deal, we got back $110,000 at closing. I made more money on getting that money back in the closing than I did in 6 months working at the restaurant. And I didn't have put any money into that deal. And since then, we've been able to refi like $6 million. That one deal, can you imagine the stupidity of me staying on that current path? So I challenge everybody out there, look at your situation. That's what I'm saying. 3 years from now, where do you envision yourself? You don't have to be retired. I want everyone to figure out what your sole purpose is, what you really want to do. I didn't want to own real estate just to make a ton of money. I wanted to own real estate to be a role model to my kids. I wanted to own real estate to help other people. I wanted to own real estate to become financially free, not financially independent, financially free, so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go, man. I don't want to say, oh, it's Monday morning. I can't wait till Monday morning now. It was the opposite of when I went to work. Now I want to get up and create content and do lessons and get on podcasts and talk to people. There's a difference between financially independent and financially free. That's what real estate allowed me to do. And that was that inflection point. You're going to have several in your life and you're like, damn, what am I doing here? So that's just one of the many, but that one just stands out more than anything else.
The We Love Equity Show is brought to you by W.L.E.R.E, widely recognized as an outstanding resource for real estate investors with exceptional education, networking, and support, along with profit-enhancing benefits in all aspects of real estate investing. Visit W.L.E.R.E at www.azrea.org. That's visit W.L.E.R.E at www.azrea.org. Hello, We Love Equity family. Today we have a special guest. We have Gino Barbaro. Gino is the man. He is from St. Augustine, Florida. Look, he's a best-selling author of 2 books, Wheelbarrow Profits and The Honeybee. He's the co-founder of Jake and Gino. If you guys haven't heard of Jake and Gino and you're looking to get into the multifamily space, or you're in the multifamily space, I'm going to tell you to go over to the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. This is all about multifamily. So you guys that are looking for multifamilies, how to vet deals, where to look for deals, where to find deals, and that podcast is right there for you. Gino has it for you. He is the owner, operator, and manager of over 1,600 units. Yes, I said 1,600 units across the nation. So, man, Gino, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you.
Marcus, thanks for having me on. And the name of your show is so appropriate. We love equity. And why is it that we love equity? We were talking about transactions and equity. Equity is what makes you rich. Equity is what you want to aspire to. You're creating wealth by creating equity. Transactions are great. They pay the bills. We need that. But I want everyone on this podcast to adopt the mindset of let's go long-term. And that's what multifamily is all about. It's all about the long-term planning and the long-term thinking. And for me, that's what drew me to multifamily, Marcus.
All right. So again, Gino, thank you, man. We're glad to have you here on the show. So kind of going right in, digging right in, man. You owner, operator, manager of over 1,600 units. Normally when somebody say that, they're passively investing, but you're actually in the dirt, digging around, talking to sellers, managing contractors, crews, and things like that. How did you get to this point? Give us your entrepreneurial background. What's your backstory? I know a little bit of it, but share it with the listeners for us.
Marcus, it's just like everything else in life. You don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden you have 1,600 units. I can equate it to my life story. I have 6 kids. You don't just get married and have 6 kids, right? It happens over a progression of life, and you may stink as a parent the first couple, right? But it takes practice, like everything else, and you get better at it. And what you say to yourself, I could not imagine myself here 5 years ago. 1,600 units. I'm operating them. I'm vertically integrated. I have an education platform. We have a syndication. It's just daunting and overwhelming to think about it. What I want everyone to do is just to step back and really think of what your goals are. Marcus, if I ask you 3 years from now, where do you see yourself successfully 3 years from now, professionally, financially, with the family? Everyone answer that question to themselves and then come back to the present. And how do you reverse engineer that? And that's what I did when I started out in 2013 with Jake. We bought our first property. It took us 18 months to buy the first property. And I had a big enough why. I had enough clarity on why I wanted to do that, because I had a lot of kids and everyone kept telling me, well, they're going to get married. They're going to go to college. You got to save for retirement. And I kept getting that. And I'm like, the restaurant business that I was in for years, it was wonderful. But with the mom and pop that I was, tapping out, working harder, making less, it wasn't making ends meet. And all I wanted was a couple $1,000 a month in passive income to pay for those extra bills, right? I was thinking small, and I didn't want to fix and flip because I'm like, I don't want another job. I want to create some kind of wealth and long term. And I was lucky and blessed to find Jake, and Jake moving down to Knoxville, Tennessee, where we started investing. And we bought that first deal together. And for me, it was all about the clarity. So everyone on this call, why multifamily? I can go on and say, hey, cash flow, number 1, appreciation, number 2, number 3 is tax benefits. And I want to write this one down. Cycle resiliency, number 4. Right now, everyone said the world was going to end because no one's going to pay their rents. Well, what? People are paying their rents right now, especially if you're in these more reddish kind of states, right? Where I'm not talking politics, I'm talking policy right now. People are paying their rents. And Florida, the market is cranking. Texas, they didn't lose jobs. People have jobs down here and they're still working. So there's a resiliency to multifamily that I never even thought of 5 or 6 years ago. All I thought of was cash flow. But now with all these other intrinsic, these benefits in the multifamily space, the ability to scale it up and really to build a business and also to build multiple businesses. You know, we wrote the Honeybee because all of a sudden you start out with a little 25-unit property, and now 1,600 units later, we're creating a captive insurance company. We're going to be offering renters insurance to our residents, and we're going to be making money with collecting renters insurance. So you start small, but the opportunities are endless. If you had told me 3 years ago, I wouldn't even know what the heck you're talking about, right? But I just want everyone on the call, what is it 3 years from now that is going to really revolutionize your life? And for me, 3 years from now is to have students close 30,000 units. That's what I'm shooting for 3 years from now. We're at about 8,000 units right now. That's my goal. My goal is not to make income. My goal is not to buy units. My goal is focus on my students becoming successful, because the more successful they become, the more successful we become as a company and as a brand.
So you guys went from 0 to 1,600 units in 3 or 4 years?
It was about 5.5 years. So the first 1,000 units, what we did, the first 1,000 units, it was just me, my partner Jake, and another partner Mike. We didn't syndicate. We just bought deals. We refinanced the proceeds and rolled it into the next deal. So we were able to refinance about $10 million out of our portfolio and keep buying up, and keep buying up. That's what we kept doing. At the 1,000-unit plateau, we said, well, we should try the syndication. Syndication in 2016, 2017, that was the flavor of the month. We had not done it yet, but we said, what? Everyone else is doing it. How do I learn? So what I did, Marcus, we had the podcast. I podcasted Bruce Peterson, Vinny Chopra. I mean, the list goes on and on. Michael Blank, Reed Goose, all these podcasts is just to learn, right? Because that's how I learned. Then we started teaching it, and we actually ended up our next 600 units we were able to buy with us with syndication. And when I say, Marcus, there's no right or wrong path. It's really just a tool in the toolbox. We've done seller finance deals. We've done syndication deals. We've done JVs. Every deal needs to be looked through a prism, and every deal is unique, right? You need to know what the 3 pillars of real estate are. That's what we teach. You want to learn about where the market cycle is, where the debt is on the property, what kind of debt you're getting, and the exit strategy. Look at it through that lens, and then you'll be able to say, hey, this deal is a syndication deal, because with this 48-unit deal we're just signing this week, it's not really a syndication deal. It's a little too small, and it's one of those deals where it's a little hair on it. So are my investors going to say, hey, I want to get paid. I can't wait 18 months to get a return back. So for us, we'll buy it internally, we'll control it ourselves, and then we'll refinance it. That's the exit strategy. We're not going to sell this thing. We're going to refinance this thing to agency, pull all our money out, 30-year amortization, and we'll have cost segregation on it. Some deals where, hey, you know what? I need to get capital. I'm just going to buy this deal, syndicate it, make some fees. 24 months later, hopefully I can, sell it out and make a 25% IRR for my investors. So I want everyone to look at it through that prism, the 3 pillars of real estate. Where you are in the market cycle is going to tell you what kind of deals you're buying. Yep. What kind of debt are you going to put on? Are you going to use community? Are you going to owner finance it? Are you going to use agency? And what's your exit strategy? I mean, I used to be the buy and hold. I would hold everything, but sometimes when you've got such an appreciation play and you can pull that money out and go buy something that's quote unquote value added distressed, you can do that. You should do that. So we've done that before. So look at it from that prism and it'll give you a good idea. I think, Marcus, you can use that in your business, in single family home as well. Some people just do things to do things, but you need to have a plan. And it doesn't work, it's fine. But you can at least, as Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. But it's okay. Once you get punched in the face a couple of times, you'll know how to divert the plan and it won't affect you as much. But you just still need to have some type of framework in place for your investors and even for yourself.
And you said a whole lot there, Gino, because that was one of the things with me. I was always, okay, buying, you hold this thing long term, you hold it forever. But now I'm starting to look at it. Okay, well, if I buy it now and I gain 30% appreciation over a few years, why not sell it and take that money and then deploy it elsewhere? So man, what you're saying is absolutely spot on. So let's kind of take it back just a little bit. For those who are, just getting into the multifamily space, or they have a few doors like I do, and they're looking to scale up and do some bigger things, how did you guys get started with that 25 doors?
So for me, I like to always quote Mark Twain when he says, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." And what I mean by that is people getting into multifamily, the first thing they think of is, oh, I need money to get into multifamily, or I need credibility to get into multifamily. And if that were the case, a lot of students, a lot of people would not be in multifamily. We were hung up on our first deal with money. That's what we said. Jake and I, how are we going to find the money? Where are we going to find the money? Well, on that first 25 unit property, we didn't buy the most amazing deal. We bought a deal that had a lot of hair on it. We bought a deal that we got 10% owner financing on it. So there are a lot of other things you can do. And we also partnered with my brother on that deal. So it was a 25 unit property, and we still own the property to today. It was one of those, I don't know if anybody's ever read Fixer J. DeSima. It was one of those dilapidated little 25 unit properties, mixed use with cottages here, a 6-unit efficiency, some duplexes. I loved it because of the community aspect of it, but they were weekly renters. It was a hard property, and it was a mom and pop owner who ran up the expenses. They were paying for the cable. The garbage bill was extraordinary. Wow. They were paying for the tenant utilities. It was a lot of resident turnover. They had no systems. And that was the value play. It was valuation through operation, not just renovation. I mean, it was really operationally run poorly. We didn't know at the time. We just saw, wow, these people are making this money. Their expenses are high. Let's buy it. So it was a $600,000 purchase price. We probably could have paid less, but it was our first deal. That's why it is what it is. It's okay. We paid a little bit extra, but we got into the game. Right now, actually, we just did our scheduled real estate own because we're buying another deal. The property is valued at probably $1.3 million right now. It's probably worth over $55,000 a unit because we've been able to push off those utilities. We've been able to raise rents on the property. So it was, when you're looking at a property and you're looking at multifamily or even single family, we use the SPY technique: the seller, the property, and you. We're always going into markets. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? No, when you go into negotiation of real estate or anything in life, you're trying to solve the other problems, other side's problems. And this property, look for mom and pops. What a mom and pop basically is, it's a motivated seller. They are landlords who just want to get out for so many different kinds of reasons. They can have partner acrimony. They can have brothers who want to kill each other. I've been there. We've all been there, right? We have a partner with a family, right? You may be moving, getting out. You may have health issues. You may be burned out. You may have no systems, whatever that may be. That's what this first property and the remainder of our property has right now that we've bought for the last our entire portfolio. They're all mom and pops in one variation of another. They can be 26 units, they can be 281 units, but they all have the aspect where the seller is motivated. And that's what you need in real estate. So, and you open your ears and you listen to what problems they had. These are two elderly couple that just didn't want to do this anymore. They were sick of getting weekly residents. They were sick of not having property managed properly. They were sick of going and chasing money. And that's what we saw. We were able to find that. And our long-term strategy was to actually turn that into monthly renters. It took a little while. It took us about 6 months to cycle everybody out and get that going, but turned it into a nice little community. I mean, the mail lady, about a year after she started delivering there, she said to Jake, well, this has turned into a nice community. I'm not afraid of delivering the mail anymore. Gotcha. And that's what we want to do in multifamily, right? We want to create those communities and make it safe for people. And in that space, residents are often underserved. They are people who can't afford to buy homes, and we just take them for granted. And if you can try to really serve them and try to give them the customer service, you will have residents for life.
So one of the problems that I had with my multifamily when I bought it, Gino, was repositioning the tenant. So how did you guys do that with these 25 units when you were getting weekly rents? So now you're going from weekly to monthly. How did you reposition that property?
So for us, it was a little bit easier because remember, there's a cottage here, then a cottage here, then a duplex here. So you'd go one building at a time and you start cycling them out. And that's what you need to do when you have our 3-step repositioning framework is basically fill any vacancies. Any vacancies that you have in the property, day of takeover, you focus on those. Turn those over, have your 5 or 6 day takeover plan, whether you're replacing flooring, whether you're doing fixtures, whether you're painting. Get that done. Those are the first ones you start filling up. Then from there, the residents around will start saying, wow, these people are going to raise rents, aren't they? Because everything's turning out nice. All of a sudden, the mailboxes look good. Those gutters are cleaned. The landscaping. I got laundry machines that work. All of a sudden, they get the cue. And you'd be amazed. Sometimes residents in that space, that's what they're looking for. They'll go into a unit that you just repositioned. It's happened to us a lot. In our third deal, we had residents paying $450 a month. We actually, in the process, were renovating new units at $595. We had a lot of residents that actually transitioned over and wanted to actually go into the new ones. That's great. When that happens, that unit becomes vacant. So if you have, let's say you have 4 plexes and there's 5 or 6 on the property, try to do one building at a time. Try to go one building at a time. But what I would do is really start working on the outside as you're working on the inside. You want to really reposition the outside. We do a lot of brand signage. The signage gets changed. So there's a new sheriff in town. Yep. The office gets cleaned up and gets taken care of really nicely. All of our common areas, whether you have laundry machines or you have a fitness center, a club center, clubhouse, those need to be taken care of also. And then just basically start with the interiors. The ones that are vacant, reposition those, start implementing your ratio utility billing system where you're billing back to residents. And then as new residents come due, start signing them up. If they leave, that unit gets vacant, attack that unit right then and there. Does that make sense, Marcus?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's the first part of the process is fill the vacancies, get in there, fill the vacancies, work on some of your leasehold improvements, your landscaping, signage, everything like that. And those tenants become aware. They're like, okay, either I'm going to pay the higher rent or I'm going to start looking for another place. And that's good because you start weeding out those who want to stay versus those who want to leave. Okay, sounds great. Sounds great.
Marcus, let me add one more thing to that.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell everyone this is one of my golden nuggets that I've learned in life. We just in our property we bought back in November of 2018. It was 132 units. It was our first syndication. We're out there. We're painting the buildings. They're red brick. We're painting them white. Dude, they look beautiful. I mean, they're popping. We have residents that are complaining. It's just the nature of the beast. Don't take every complaint as, oh, what am I doing wrong? You need to do it once you add value and listen to your residents. What we learned on that property was they wanted safety. They wanted exterior lights. So don't be afraid to give residents a survey and say, what can we do better? Get your ego out of the way. By putting that exterior lighting, it gives them the comfort and the safety that we ended up doing that. But I was amazed. I'm like, so it's just people don't want change. They're used to comfort. They're used to ugly ass red building. We paint it white, black shutters. It just looks great. At the end of the day, they liked it. After a month or two, some of them were like, you know what? It does look good. So if you're doing the right thing, stick to your guns, continue to add value, but also get that feedback because sometimes we need feedback from residents to saying, what can we be doing better? We need to be proactive with our customer service and our maintenance staff. That's where a lot of operators fail because you need to get maintenance taken care of because if Marcus has got to go on a job interview Wednesday and he doesn't have a hot water heater Tuesday, guess what? Marcus is not going to re-sign up with me next year because he says, damn, I didn't have the hot water heater in. That's the hardest part with our business and being upfront and saying, hey, we messed up. What can we do better? That's what we need to be doing better in the multifamily space.
And that's big. It's that feedback. And that's one of the things that I really look at, Gino, is that feedback. When there's a maintenance request that comes in, let's not haggle over what needs to be done. If it needs to be repaired and it's a sensible repair, let's get out there and let's get it done. because at the end of the day, when it's time for that lease renewal, people rather stay where they're at versus pay that expense to move. And if you have a decent quality product, they're going to stay. So that limits that vacancy, limits that turnover and everything like that. So yeah, that formula right there, Jake, is outstanding.
So let me mention another thing, the 4 Ps. Let me see if I remember the 4 Ps, because if you have the 4 Ps in any business, you will succeed. If one of them is weak, you will not. The first one is price. If your price is not right, if you're charging too much for your apartments, if you're charging too much to sell a home, it's not going to happen. I see students out there going, well, the market's 700. Guess what? The market's not 700, right? You have to worry about your price. The next one is promotion. The promotion, you marketing it. You have to be out there marketing your product out there. And if you're not marketing, whether it's Craigslist, whether it's Zillow, whether you're putting Facebook ads, you have to do that, right? The product is the third thing. Are you selling a good product? Are you out there with the product? I mean, are you out there? Do you have a nice apartment unit? Is it done well? Is it you maintain? Are you changing the fixtures? Are you taking care? And I think the last one is the process. You have a process in place to take care of the residents and to actually onboard and all that. So think of those 4 Ps. They're really important. If one of those is not working properly, you are going to fail in your business, no matter what that business is. So,
and I'll add one more, and it's the people.
Your most team. Important thing. Yes, I love that, my friend. You nailed that one on the head. You're 100% right, because without the right team members, without people having buy-in, that is so important that you need to have right team members. I love that. Thanks for adding that one on there.
So how did you guys find this property? Because I know you guys were just getting started. Were you doing any marketing, or did you just find it on the MLS, or kind of what happened? How did you guys find it?
That's a great question. Back in the day, a few years ago, you could find stuff on LoopNet, right? That's where stuff just went to die. And I would challenge everybody, especially in the smaller multifamilies, don't be afraid of looking at LoopNet. Don't be afraid of looking at the MLS, especially deals that have been there for 6 months or a year that are languishing. Because right now you have brokers and sellers with unrealistic expectations. And in the next few months, stuff may be sitting on there. Don't be afraid to start looking there and continue to look there and have those reports out there or those alerts. When a property's there for 6 months, give the broker a call. And that's the place where you start establishing relationships with brokers. In the smaller multifamily space, you can definitely do a direct mail campaign. But once you get into the 50, 60, 100 units, it's a lot harder because they're more savvier, especially in the last couple of years, and they know what they have. This 48 unit that I was talking about, we got it off a chat box. Someone came on our website, chatted. There was a broker, and she had called me. It was a Thursday of the week before. I called her right back, scheduled it, said, let me see what you got. 2 days later, my partner Jake is on the property, touring the property with her. So you have to move really quick. You have to do what you say, and you have to say what you do. And it's all about the broker relationship. You really have to get in front and see who the brokers are in that market. You have to be able to learn how to speak to them intelligently. When they give you a deal to underwrite the deal and get it back to them as soon as possible. That's really important. And Marcus, there's other professionals out there, whether they're title companies, whether they're CPAs, whether they're attorneys, insurance agents. One of our bankers got us a deal about 1.5 years ago because one of his lenders, one of the deals that he had, they wanted to sell, and he had the loan. So he introduced us to the sellers, and we did it that way. You're always out there making those relationships in real estate. You never know when somebody has a deal for you. But the brokers are the number one in multifamily.
That's true. You never know where the next deal is going to come from, and building those relationships with brokers are very, 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 very key. So you guys, tell me about this 48 unit. Because I know you guys are still. Did you close on it yet? Or
no? Okay. No, we just got contracts going out today. We're going to sign. We actually gave them full asking. It was coming off of a USDA loan, so it was a housing assistance project, and the contract came off. These were the original builders. They don't want to run market value products, so they've had it for a long time. They probably have no more depreciation left on it. They're just motivated sellers. They want to sell it. Before it went on the market, the way everything is right now, there's not much stuff trading right now. So we had to go at full asking. It's about $40,000 a unit. We're probably going to have to put in about $4,000 to $5,000 a unit on this property. Once we do that, we'll be at $45,000 per unit. It's gonna average about $650 a month in rents. So that's a nice rent multiplier. You're about 6 or 7 times rent, which makes a lot of sense. It's in a great little market. It's right behind the Lowe's, right near Chick-fil-A. So it's one of one of the best areas of the town itself.
Okay.
We like the median income. The median income is in the 50s, so we like it for that kind of space. We look at median income. So you want at least 3 times rent to be able to have the residents pay. We just like everything about it. Wish we had another zero. Wish it was 480 units, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter the size anymore. Right now, if a 30-unit deal works and you can fit it as far as your operations, we're going to do 30 units. We did a 52-unit deal back in March. That's what's coming our way right now. So it's not like we're not going to say no to it, but we wish they were bigger. But right now, you just got to take what you can get.
So that was going to be my next question, is what do you guys look for when you're evaluating these deals? What are some of the things that you look for?
That's a great question. So in this part of the market cycle, Marcus, I would say be wary of buying deals that are built in the 50s and 60s, that older product, because number one, cast iron plumbing, right? There's a lot of capex. One of our coaches calls it the capex tsunami, because when you have these older properties, you're in the business. You're not just doing spreadsheets. Roofs go.
Yep.
Driveways go. Air conditioners go. You got to change floors. So people, and I'm not saying not to buy old properties, but the problem is right now that people are overbidding on these older properties. If you're overbidding, then you need to put in a ton of capex, and your cost per door is gone up, and the market takes a turn. What happens? Yeah. You've already lost a ton of value. Now, the great thing is you don't lose money in real estate until you have to sell. If you've got long-term fixed rate financing, you may be able to weather the storm and ride that out. That's what happened back in 08. People actually had real estate due. They were collateralizing real estate, and they didn't have long-term fixed rate financing. Multifamily did okay back in 08, 09. If you had fixed rate financing, it did. But that's the thing. That's what I see happening. So right now we're looking at, properties that are a little bit newer, built 80s, 90s. So there's less capex. Now that means that you're going to be in better neighborhoods. Your cap rates are going to be lower. So your properties prices are going to be higher. We're looking really for properties that have, we call it valuation through operation, not renovation. So if we can operationally make it better by saying, hey, why is the manager getting paid $52,000 when we can pay her $40,000? And why are expenses this high? What about the garbage? And why are utilities so high? If we can fix things through operation, that's what we're looking for in right now in this part of the cycle.
Gotcha. So when you're doing that evaluation, are you looking at the operational leverage that you can have to increase versus you're looking at that first, or you're looking at the property first?
I think we're looking at both. I mean, obviously, when you look at a T12 and you're saying that somebody's running a property at $6,000 per unit in expenses per year, and that you can run it at $5,000, that's a home run right there, because $1 in expenses saves $1 in your pocket. Now, what we want to do is we don't want to go in there and start doing a total rehab and saying, I'm going to put $10,000 per unit. I'm going to fix the granite. I'm going to rip out the cabinets and go for a $50 or $100 per month rent bump. That's not our model. We don't need to do that in this part of the cycle. It's really risky. 3-4 years ago, that was the liftoff. Those properties used to be called distressed. Then the marketing gurus came in and they're called value add. They're still distressed, my friend. They still need a ton of work. And like I said, in this part of the cycle, putting that much in there and then not their model is more of fixing and flipping, right? Because they're putting a lot of value. And I would say, let's refi that thing. But it's like putting lipstick in a pig. That thing, is that going to be are you going to be able to hold that for the next 10 years and not have another CapEx come due? That's where the issue is. So buying the properties that are a little bit newer, like this one is an 84 that we're just buying. And the one we bought back in March was a 90s build, townhomes, brick. So those are the kind of deals we're trying to look for now. I don't want to discourage anyone by saying, hey, if you have an older property, don't look at it. If you have an older property and you can buy it really well, our 3-step framework is buy right, manage right, and finance right. If you can buy it well and get it at a good price and still have to put that CapEx, then go ahead and do it. If not, just be careful of overpaying on those older deals right now.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Okay. Makes a whole lot of sense. So basically what you're saying is don't get into those older deals where you're going to have that CapEx, especially if you don't have the money for the CapEx and you're just trying to put lipstick on a pig, and then boom, in 3 years, the roof got to be done, or cast iron plumbing, or, the electrical needs to be updated. No, I definitely understand. So you guys are doing a lot. Kind of give us the framework of your team. How is your team operated, managed? Because I know you guys are, again, you're doing everything: acquisitions, management, disposition, everything.
So that's the life of the entrepreneur, right? When you first start out, it's the I'm a mentality. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do everything. And the problem with that is that I found in my restaurant, I stayed at one restaurant. I was amazing, man. I made a nice chicken parm. I'm not kidding. Don't make me hungry. I'm telling you, you should have seen my gardens. My dad had a green thumb. I mean, we were growing everything. It was amazing, right? But that doesn't make you an amazing entrepreneur, an amazing business person. It just makes you an amazing technician. If you read the E-Myth, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to scale the business, you have to realize there's certain inflection points. And I think our first deal was, I'm going to do this. Jake's out there cutting the grass in the tractor. We're learning the processes. We're managing the deals ourselves. I'm doing the bookkeeping on QuickBooks myself. The second deal, we're at 60 units. We're still not there to hire full-time just yet, but we're almost there. We have resident managers on both of our properties. We have on the resident managers can do a little bit of maintenance. We don't have a full-time property manager yet. 6 months after buying our second deal, a year after the first deal, we bought 136 units. That's the inflection point that it's like, okay, can't do everything. I'm going to have to hire a property manager, and I'm going to get 2 full-time maintenance techs. And that's really hard for the entrepreneur and for the person striving to be an entrepreneur, because all of a sudden you're letting go of the reins. That's when you have to start working on systems. And that's why the I'm a part where you're learning it, start documenting it. Systems don't have to be like these amazing, difficult things. It's really, what did you do today? Let's diagnose it. Let's write it down. Let's document it. And let's start teaching others, whether you're shooting a Loom video, whether you're doing a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. That's how you grow. So for us, it was just us in the very beginning. And then from there, since there, when we talk about people, systems, and culture, you mentioned the people part. Start creating your core values. We didn't have core values in the beginning. The core values were me and Jake. Let's buy deals. There's nothing wrong with that in the beginning. But as you start adding layers and you start growing the systems, you can find the right people. And that's what we ended up doing. I mean, we have, I think, about 50 people in the property management side. On the education side, there's around 10 people. On the syndication side, there's 2 people doing it. So as you start growing, you start delegating responsibilities. Jake does the property management day to day. He runs the businesses day to day with the property management with that entire team. I do the education day to day. That's why I'm on this podcast and he's not. And then we have somebody helping us with the syndication. We have over 1,000 investors on our list. There's no way Jake or Gino can get on and cultivate that list. So it's a growing process. Like I said, having 6 kids is just that one little process, that one little layer. Take one deal at a time. And then as you start growing, our biggest mistake that we made, we didn't have property management software. Could you imagine that? That's a big mistake. I mean, like I was using QuickBooks and then we went to something called RentPost. They didn't have Buildium or a software solution 5 or 6 years ago that we should have utilized. That's not having a proper system. We ultimately ended up going to AppFolio, and that really helps out a lot. That helps out a lot with the books. So you have proper record keeping, you have proper numbers. So those little tweaks that you need as you grow and saying, you know what, I'm not going to delegate out. I mean, at the restaurant, I'm in the kitchen washing dishes. Why am I doing $10 an hour work? Because I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I feel busy. The thing is, we feel busy. We get that dopamine hit that at the end of the day, we really feel like we accomplished something. But then when you look back, you're like, what the hell did I do? I just washed dishes today. I felt good by washing dishes when I could have gotten somebody else. And I know it's resonating with a lot of people on the call because I've done it. I still do it. I'm like, why am I doing these tasks? Because it makes me feel good. But ultimately, you have team members and you have Jake yelling at you going, why are we doing this? We should be writing another book. Why are we doing this menial work when you get a virtual assistant to post some stuff on Instagram when we should be creating content or something else? So look at it from that perspective. Once you've reached it and you've learned how to do it, if you can delegate it out and have somebody actually do it for a lot less than you and your value is somewhere else, just look at that. And that's hard, Marcus, because we all have an ego and we all want to be right and we want to stay nice and comfortable and all. That's why I had one restaurant, because I wanted to stay in that comfort zone. But after a while, you're going to be looking around and going, I don't want to do this anymore. There's something more.
So with that mental switch, Gino, how did that occur where you say, but I can't do this. In order for me to get bigger, I need to do something different. How did you mentally prepare yourself for that? So, and I'm asking this personally for me.
I have my book here for everyone on YouTube. I have my book. My book is my cell phone. The cell phone is like this. I'm in the restaurant, 2015. I'm in my shed. I'm putting away the container tins. You know those to-go container tins, the metal ones where you get out when you get food to go. And I'm talking to Jake, and I'm on the call with him, and it's an $11 million owner finance deal that I'm negotiating with him. And I stop and I say to myself, I'm doing $10 an hour work here, and I'm negotiating an $11 million seller finance 281 unit deal. And I said to myself, God, what am I, scared little chicken shit here where I'm doing this work? And I challenged myself there. I said, this deal could set me free for life and put me on the path. And instead, I'm hiding in the shed here doing this crappy work. It's really becoming real with yourself. That's the reality of it. And that's when it really hit me in the face. And I'm like, I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. So we have to come to grips with ourselves, and we have to know, I'm going to tell everyone out here on this podcast, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. We're all winging. We're all figuring it out. The ones who are successful commit and then figure it out. And I have another quote for you. Done is better than perfect, because the background looks good now. I haven't had a background like this. I've been doing podcasts for 6 years. I keep moving rooms and keep shitting around. You're never going to get it perfect. Just finish it, and then you'll learn from that mistake, move on, and you'll get even better and better and better. We always just sitting there going, I'm not ready yet. You're never going to be ready. You're going to be ready when you're ready. So for me, can you imagine I'm sitting in the shed putting away tins, and I'm talking about doing $11 million. And ironically enough, that deal, we got back $110,000 at closing. I made more money on getting that money back in the closing than I did in 6 months working at the restaurant. And I didn't have put any money into that deal. And since then, we've been able to refi like $6 million. That one deal, can you imagine the stupidity of me staying on that current path? So I challenge everybody out there, look at your situation. That's what I'm saying. 3 years from now, where do you envision yourself? You don't have to be retired. I want everyone to figure out what your sole purpose is, what you really want to do. I didn't want to own real estate just to make a ton of money. I wanted to own real estate to be a role model to my kids. I wanted to own real estate to help other people. I wanted to own real estate to become financially free, not financially independent, financially free, so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go, man. I don't want to say, oh, it's Monday morning. I can't wait till Monday morning now. It was the opposite of when I went to work. Now I want to get up and create content and do lessons and get on podcasts and talk to people. There's a difference between financially independent and financially free. That's what real estate allowed me to do. And that was that inflection point. You're going to have several in your life, and you're like, damn, what am I doing here? So that's just one of the many, but that one just stands out more than anything else.
Sweet. And what you said, I mean, it just really resonates, and it hit home. It should be hitting home with a lot of people, because you find yourself like, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? If my goal is to have X in 3 years, the current path that I'm on, I'm not going to reach X in 3 years. So like you said, it's just really being brutally honest with yourself and saying, okay, Marcus, what are you going to do? What are you going to change? And if this is what you're really committed to doing, let's get out there and do it no matter what. So, and
Marcus, I would also say back in 2008 was where my inflection point was. What happened in 08? It was the Great Recession. I mean, it was really, people don't remember it. It was, pricing here is just getting back to where it was in 07, 08. Where the credit markets were in the toilet. I'm having a crisis of confidence. Don't let that problem lose. Use that as an opportunity. And the reason why I'm saying that is fast forward to 2020. It is 2008 again, without the virus itself, but still, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Don't let a crisis go to waste. Use this to motivate yourself. Use this to find other people who are like-minded like you and who want to take it to the next level. And that's why you're listening to podcasts, and that's why you're going to meetups and listening to virtual events and just trying to raise that level of energy. Because right now is the way to say to yourself, I have a lot of students who are like, this has been a blessing in disguise. I'm actually able to work from home, get more stuff done. I'm actually underwriting more deals. So we're all allotted 24 hours. We're all dealt the same cards. You're going through the pandemic like I am, right? Like everyone else is. How are you using your time? How is the listener using their time? And how am I using my time? When this thing hit back in March, people were freaking out. Yeah, Grant Cardone, I'm going to fire all these people and get rid of everybody. Jake and I just said, let's see what happens. Let's calm down, because they've been wrong the whole time. Rents weren't going to be paid in March. They weren't going to be paid in April. May was going to be the apocalypse. June. Now we're in August and people are still paying. So I'm just saying, like, keep it level-headed. Watch and guard your emotions, because low emotions leads to lower intelligence and does not lead to any solutions. That's why there's no solutions being created right now, because everyone's got their emotions flying all over the place. If we can keep our emotions high, we can get off this podcast. After you're off this podcast, ready to go to work. You're gonna have the great rest. I get off right now. I'm ready. I'm fired up. I'm gonna write a couple articles when I get off. I'm ready to go. I've got a 5 o'clock with Jake. I'm ready to start my end of my day. If you're not there right now, why aren't you there? Only one pandemic. It's funny, because this is a time where you just look down and you say, there's got to be some opportunity coming out of this right now. And it's never the right time. I'm going to tell everybody, it is never the right time to get in real estate or start a new job or get married, or in my case, have another kid. It's never the right time until you're ready. And when you're ready, you're going to be like, wow, it's the right time. Don't let this pandemic go to waste. Let it teach you something. Let it say to yourself, I got to get my goals. That's what it comes down to.
And another thing that I've been telling people about this pandemic is, I said, if evaluate yourself during this pandemic. If you don't learn anything or become better on the other side of this pandemic, just go and get a job, because you're not ready to be an entrepreneur. Because during this time, during these 3-4 months, you should come out better on the other side. It should be everything that you put on the back burner saying, well, I can't get to it because of this, or I can't do it because of that. You have no excuses now. Like you said, we're all at home. We're all, working. It's how are you going to use that time to better yourself? So you should be listening to podcasts. You should be reading articles. And not only that, you should be putting some of that stuff into action. So you should say, okay, well, let me get out here. Let me get on LoopNet. Let me look at a deal. Let me see if I can learn how to evaluate a deal and do some practice things. That way, when I come out of this, I'm like, okay, I know what CapEx I need to look for. I know what area I want to be in. I know who I want to be connected to and everything like that. So like you said, Gino, this is an opportune time for you to position yourself further down the road.
And if you can't do it yourself, Marcus, go out there and find somebody to partner with. I was, like I said, fortunate to partner with Jake. It's been my mastermind for the last 8 years, partnered with Mike, and now we've created the Jake and Gino community, and that's like my mastermind. Every week I'm on with the students. I'm talking to them. I'm engaged. Sometimes it's hard to do it by yourself. Sometimes you don't have faith in yourself, but I ain't letting Jake down. I'll let myself down before I let Jake down. So that's the crazy part about it, right? So find a partner if you're afraid to do it yourself. And I love being on the podcast with him. We're on every week. If he can't make it, I pick up the slack, and vice versa. So there's no excuses, really.
All right. Well, we're going to take a brief break right here with Gino. Gino, when we come back, I want to talk about financing. I want to talk a little bit about deal structuring. And when we come back, we'll jump right into that.
Finding real estate deals can be a challenge, but with W.L.E.R.E, it doesn't have to be. W.L.E.R.E has created a one-stop solution for all your real estate needs, so you can find more sellers, close more deals, and maximize revenue. W.L.E.R.E offers a comprehensive suite of lead-generating tools that cover text messaging, skip tracing, finding comps, and much more. W.L.E.R.E help you simplify, manage, and organize all your data in one place. W.L.E.R.E will help you stack your lists and identify properties that appear on multiple lists and have multiple distress indicators. These sellers are likely to be highly motivated and eager to sell. Get the most powerful and complete lead generation platform in the industry. Locate sellers, buyers, and lenders nationwide in seconds. Go to W.L.E.R.E.io and use promo code WeLoveEquity.
All right, we are back with Gino Barbaro. If you're not familiar with who Gino is, you better hurry up and get familiar with him. This guy owns, controls, and manages over 1,600 units across the nation. He is the podcaster. They have Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. He's an author, best-selling author of Wheelbarrow Profits book and the Honeybee. So we have Gino here. Gino, let's talk about financing. When you did that first deal, that 25 unit, I'm going to go back to that because that's really the start of how you started learning how to structure deals. I know you said that it was, if I'm not mistaken, part of it was seller financing on that deal. Kind of walk us through some of the financing, and how did you have the confidence to say, okay, this is my first deal. I'm going to jump out here and we're going to do 25 units.
I didn't have the confidence. I just had the desperation, to be honest with you. I just wanted to get into it. What I didn't know. Owner financing, I would say to everybody, don't lead with it, but make sure that the owner is motivated. And we know that the seller was like, what are you going to do with the money? They're just going to put it in the bank. Well, would you like to earn 5 or 6% as opposed to 1%? That sounds like a good idea. Would you like to defer some capital gains? That's a good idea. Don't lead with, hey, can you do seller financing? So that for us was actually great. And the broker brought that to us. So for us, it was 80% bank financed. 10% we needed as a down payment, which was $60,000, 10% is $600,000. And we took a 10% seller finance note, to which we have till today. We're still paying off that little note. Why pay it, right? It's still going. We actually extended the note when we refinanced the property. And that 10% of $60,000, we needed to come up with an additional $20,000 for closing costs. So it was me, my brother, Mark and my partner Jake was $27,000 each for the three of us. We got crappy terms from a community bank on the beginning because, like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. Instead of a 25-year amortization, we got a 20-year am. We actually got a 6% interest rate on the deal because the bank that gave us the owner financing, the bank that we financed it from, were the ones who had the loan originally. So they're like, we know the deal works and we'll allow the seller financing. So for us, we took crappier terms on the front end, and it was a 5-year term. So it all worked out great because when we went to refinance it with another bank, we paid them off. We got a 4.19 interest rate. So we went from 6% to 4.19%. We went to a 25-year amortization, and we went to a 10-year term on the deal, right? So 10 years, it's going to balloon. And what happened was we pulled out $160,000 of revenue on it. We refinanced $160,000. And the crazy thing was, the payment didn't go up. The payment stayed about the same because with the AM and with the rate dropping 2 points, our payments stayed the same. So for us, the learning lesson with finance, this is the golden nugget, everybody. Go out and especially with community banks, try to solicit as many community banks as possible. Try to solicit the smaller ones. We like working with smaller banks that are hungry, and ask them what they have in their portfolio. Do you have multifamily? Do you like multifamily? And don't be afraid to negotiate and to ask. You need to ask the right questions, and everything on that third deal was a 1% origination fee and a $4 million loan. We just asked, can you do 3/4? And he goes, sure. We should have asked for half a point. We didn't know. We're just learning. So everything is negotiable. But when you go there, you want to look at terms. Make sure you compare apples to apples. You're looking at who the guarantors are. You're looking, can you get IO? You're looking at the interest rate. You're not only just looking at interest rate, but you want to see what the amortization is. What is the loan to value? Are you going to do a loan to cost? Can I get some of the rehab costs built into this loan? There's so many different things, and don't underestimate this. We have a great relationship with our community bank. When we have to get a letter of credit or we need to get something transferred, they're just a pleasure to work with. Don't underestimate if somebody's going to charge you 1/4 point higher, but they have a great banking relationship. Don't kill that, because that's what we did early on. We were focused on price versus value. Sometimes just focusing on interest rate alone, and hey, this guy's going to give me a lower rate, but everything else you don't take into consideration. As an entrepreneur, don't look at just the price. Look at what the value component is to it and make your decision based on that as well.
Now, I can piggyback off of that, Gino, is because I was looking at a single family, and I use a small community bank. Even when I'm in town, I would just go in that community bank, say, hey, to the bank vice president, how you doing? Just let me know if you guys got anything. I'm willing to finance everything through you. Let me know if you got something. And he would call me. He was like, hey, Marcus, this is what we got. Let me know if you're interested. So one time when I was there, they had a note that they had to take back, and I went and walked the property, looked at it. They wanted X amount of dollars for it. I came back super low, and he was like, okay, we'll do it. They gave us the financing for it, plus they gave us the rehab for it and everything like that. So what you're saying, those small community banks, guys, are golden. Those are valuable relationships that you have to keep.
I agree 100% with you.
Okay. So Gino, what's next, man? What you guys going forward? What are you guys looking at next?
So for us, I always just stress to everybody, no deal is better than a bad deal. And everyone says, oh, do you want 2,000 units? Do you want 3,000 units? I just want to do good deals. I don't want to put stress on the property management company, because we're self-managed. So just because I'm adding on, it's funny. One of the guys told me it's almost like a syndicator when they have kids and they keep having kids, but they abandon those kids. You have a kid, you own and buy a multifamily property. They are your kids and they're your responsibility. They're your fiduciary to the investors, and you're a fiduciary to the residents, and you're a fiduciary to your property management company. So I just want to continue to buy really good deals. And if I have to look at 200 deals and underwrite them to get one, that's what we have to end up doing. So, and they come in spurts. You may not find something for 3 months, and all of a sudden you get 2 deals in 1 month. I don't want anybody on this show listening to get what we call get there-itis, where you think you have to get there. I got to get there. You have to calm down and don't pencil whip a deal. That's what our coach likes to say. Don't make up the numbers to make it work for you. When you pencil whip a deal, and we've all been there, and I've made that mistake a couple of times, not with Jake so much, but before then. And we've lost a lot of deals looking back and saying we should have bought them, but that's okay because we lost that deal. There's nothing wrong with losing a good deal. I'd rather lose a good deal and a bad deal at the same time. I'm sure that I've lost a lot of bad deals. So just for us, having that resiliency and being able to teach our students that is worth the price of admission, not letting them make those big mistakes, growing the community, and just continuing to write books. And my children are becoming of age right now where they're starting to work with us. So being a role model to them and allowing them to learn the business of real estate and just learn the business itself is what I'm striving to do in the next couple of years.
Okay. And I don't want you to prognosticate, but where do you see the real estate market, especially the multifamily space, going in the next 6 to 12 months with everything that's going on?
Well, the great news for everybody is I can't be any more wrong than anybody else is, right? Everyone's been wrong so far. So for me, I look at demographics and I would tell everybody, look at the market and look at policy versus politics.
Yep. In
the red states, why have they not shut down, and why are their economies not wrecked? And why are people paying rents in the red states? I don't have the answer to that question, but that's the reality. Texas is still doing well. For all the stuff that you hear in Florida, there may be a lot of infections, but death rates nowhere near where New York is. People are still flocking here. There's people moving here from other states. You need to look at demographics and see where they're going. Phoenix. People are moving to Phoenix from where? From California. So a blanket statement that multifamily is going to crush it is not accurate. It's going to crush it in certain markets where you have job growth and where you have population growth, whether that's Boise, Idaho, Salt Lake City, Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, where Mr. Tesla is going, right? Mm-hmm. All these places where these jobs are going, that's where I think multifamily is going to rise, because you want places where people are moving, because it gives you the ability to raise rents. When you raise rents, NOI can go up, and valuations are tied to that. And when the cap rates are lower, all it means is there's less risk. Prices are more expensive, but there's less risk because there's more growth. So for me, multifamily long-term, with the $1.6 trillion in student debt, with the baby boomers wanting to retire, sell their McMansions and sell out and rent, I just see it as the affordable housing crisis. I see that there's not enough multifamily units online for the demand going forward. I mean, there's not many people out there having 6 kids today, getting married early. There's not. I think that demographic. So when you get married and start having a family is when you start buying homes. That's happening less and less. People are able to work wherever they want to, so they can move wherever they want to. They don't need to buy a home. They can actually go and live anywhere. So for me, I'm bullish long-term on the space, especially if the tax benefits are there. I'm just telling everyone listening, be careful of where you're investing, because the local government means a lot. If they're telling the people living there, you don't have to pay your rents and we're not going to evict you for another 30 days, that's going to put a hurt on the business. So just be aware of that.
Okay. All right.
I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Sounds good. So tell me, Gino, we talked about what's next. We talked about what you're doing. For someone, what are some parting words that you would give someone that's looking to get into multifamily space, or someone like myself that's transitioning from single family over into multifamily?
So the first thing is, I would say either pay to play or seek to serve. Right. For me, especially the young ones out there, I wish I had done this earlier. I went out, and when I started back 10, 15 years ago, I went out and I went to the coaching programs. I didn't spend money for my education. I invested in my education. We have to shift the mindset of an entrepreneur. It's value for value. Whatever I learned 10 years ago, I still have that now. So for me to get into the space, first of all, just make sure you want to get into multifamily. The second thing is figure out why, have clarity of why you're getting into it, right? The third thing is start going on all those free sites, Bigger Pockets, go to Jake and Gino, go to every site that you can, start digesting and start consuming the content in the podcast. Once that you've reached a plateau and you can't get whatever you need, that's when you start looking for mentors, start looking for people to work for, start joining multifamily meetups, start going to groups, start going to events. That's when you start taking it seriously, because the education is one thing, and then it's education times action equals results. That education that you're taking times that action of working with others and working with mentors will ultimately lead to your results. But you don't have to start in single family. You don't have to start in multifamily. I think you just have to start. I think you have to start, and you have to have a burning desire to want to get it done.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Gino. Thank you. So right now we are about to put you on a hot seat, Gino. We are going to put Gino on the hot seat here. So Gino, starting out, what would you do differently? You kind of just prefaced it, but what would you do differently if you take yourself back to 10, 15 years ago?
So for me, I would hire quicker and I would hire sooner. And I would also create a core values for myself. I didn't have one at the restaurant, because you attract what you are, not what you want. And I was attracting the quality of employee that I was as an employer. I wasn't the right employer that I wanted. So really flesh out your core values, flesh out what you want from your company, and then hire and fire based off of that. And starting back for myself, once you start rolling a little bit, don't be afraid to delegate. Don't be afraid to hire out, because that's going to come back to you 5X and 10X. That was a hard lesson for me to learn, letting go, having an ego and saying somebody can do it better than me. And it's okay if they do it better than me, because I can't be good at everything. That was a hard lesson for me.
Good, good. So outside of, what is your greatest commodity outside of capital?
So my greatest commodity might sound cliche, is hard work. When you're working at the restaurant, you're working on Christmas Eve, you're working on Easter, you're working every weekend, you're working when it's 100 degrees, you're working when it's 30 degrees, you're working in unpleasant conditions, and you're just used to working hard. And as an immigrant, my parents were immigrants, I was just a hard worker. So now when I see people say they're working hard, come on, guys. When you're outside digging a ditch in Florida, it's 100 degrees, that's hard work. What we're doing, it's different kind of work. I'm not saying it's not, but every business, you have to put in work, hard work. So I think my biggest commodity is hard work. Just not saying, oh, roll up your sleeves and let's do it. So for me, that would be it.
Okay. What drives your ambition outside of your 6 kids?
Yeah. For me, it's to be a role model. Marcus, when I was at the restaurant, the thing that I hated most is I'd come home and I wasn't happy. And I didn't want my kids equating hard work to being miserable. And that really would stick me. That would really bother me. I'd be like coming home, I wasn't happy. Now here, right now, one of my kids came in while I was recording, and she sees a smile on my face, and she knows that I like to do this work and I really like it and I enjoy it. So that's my driving force, is I can really help people out. I love sharing my knowledge, and I love being a role model to my kids and to the Jake and Gino community, because I was taught that working hard, that's all you got to do. You work hard, you make a paycheck. At the end of the day, you're happy. My mom says, why would you be unhappy? You've got a nice little business here. Look at everyone else out there. Everyone else is unhappy. But we don't want to be like everybody else. We want to do something we really enjoy. Why do we need to be conditioned like that? We don't need to be conditioned like that in the year 2020. Find your soul purpose and then figure out how to monetize in your soul purpose, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even during these times. So, Gino, what do you believe is your greatest challenge, if it's internal or external?
The greatest challenge. I wrote this down. I don't know why I wrote the current intelligence of the United States. I guess I'm a little pissed off at just the current divisiveness of what's going on. I don't think people really looked at things objectively. I think it's you're either black or you're white, you're red or you're blue. And the majority of us fall like somewhere in between. And I don't think we looked at it objectively. So I think for us, it's just, I'm trying to teach kids financial intelligence. That's what I'm trying to do. I think people with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. I really do. When you can control personal debt versus business debt, and you can understand how to use credit, and you can understand how money works, and you can understand the banking system and inflation and what's going on with the printing of the dollars, I think that's the greatest challenge that we have right now, is to have a society that understands all of these things and how it affects us. Stimulus is great, but who's paying for that? I mean, it's coming from somewhere, and that's why multifamily, the prices are elevating. That's why rents are going to continue to rise. Knowing that, having that financial intelligence will help people prosper. To me, I don't think it's a class thing. I don't think it's a race thing as much as a class thing, where you have the rich and you have the poor, and you have people who are. I don't mean rich as in dollars. I mean rich as in mentality. Like the poor person works for money. The rich person has money work for them. There's a big difference. I thought 10 years ago, you're working hard for your money, is your money working hard for you? I thought that was a cliche, but I'm like, wow, these people really know what the hell they're talking about. They can leverage their time. It's not only their money, they're leveraging other people's time. You're leveraging other people's experience, and they're not looking at how much do I got to pay Marcus to help me out. They're saying, how much value can Marcus give me? Because I'm willing to trade my dollars for Marcus's experience and time. And that was like, wow, that was really completely life-changing for me, because now all of a sudden we have so many employees that can help us do so many different things, and the pie is not finite. The pie can become infinite, or the pie can become much bigger.
Yeah, and that's just getting out of that mind state of like you were saying in the beginning. Okay, Gino, so we're going to wrap up here, man. Give us and the listeners some information about your book, about the podcast. Come on, man, let us know what Jake and Gino is up to and how we can be a part.
Just go to jakeandgino.com, Marcus. Just go on there. You're going to see all our podcasts on there. You see the ones in the back. We do 4 weekly shows. We have the book, The Honeybee. So if you want to go and get some resources on The Honeybee, just go to jakeandgino.com/honeybee. It's got a page on there with some audios on there. It's got some videos from The Honeybee. You can download our credibility book, and we want to schedule a call with our team, you can do it there. The resources are there. We're there. So we've been doing this multifamily for the last 6 or 7 years. Trust me, if Jake, who's a pharmaceutical rep, and Gino, who's the pizza guy, can do it, anybody can do it out there. Trust me.
All right, guys. So I'll make sure I have all of that information in the show notes. Remember, go to jakeandgino.com. You can go to jakeandgino.com/honeybee. All of the resources are there. Make sure you go there, especially if you're looking to get into the multifamily space or you're looking to expand into more and bigger deals. Learn how to raise capital, learn how to be a part, learn how to passively invest. Learn how to be owner operators and property managers like Gino. All of that information is there at jakeandgino.com. So Gino, and parting, man, what's the last words you want to give our listeners?
Have a growth mindset. Read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. The growth mindset will serve you. Fixed mindset is what? I don't know that. It's somebody else's fault. It's the pandemic. It's this, you're making excuses. The growth mindset is it's all about hard work, and it's all about learning, and it's all about growing.
All right. Well, Gino, I want to thank you, man. Thank you. Wonderful show. You gave us some great content, some great things to put on our minds. Really appreciate you, man. So thank you again. Guys, we will make sure everything is in the show notes for you in order to get in touch with Jake and Gino specifically. So, hey, remember to always enjoy the journey.
That's right. Thanks, Marcus.
You're welcome, Gino. Thank you. All right. I had to take a deep breath after that. Gino definitely put some things on my mind. Hopefully he put some things on your mind in regards to just expanding what you're thinking, what you're trying to do. Because remember, I'm trying to do 50 units by the time I'm 50. That is in 4 years. Well, they're at 1,600 units in 5 years. So yeah, that's the thing. So once you get around the right people, you can expand your vision, you can expand your thinking. So right now I'm looking at myself like, man, my goal is a little bit limited compared to where I need to be and where I can be. So guys, just keep that in mind. Go to jakeandgino.com and get all of the information in regards to multifamily space. I am currently making a transition from single family over to multifamily. I am still a firm believer and still love doing transactions. So I'm still doing wholesaling and things like that. But we're taking that money, we're taking that capital and transitioning it from earned income over into passive income. So we're taking that money and going out and buying multifamily units, single family units. So if you want to get on this track, if you want to reach out to me, you know where to go. You can go to marcusemaloney.com. I have the 15-minute free consultation there. If you need contracts, you need other content, I have tons of videos there. So just go to marcusemaloney.com, or you can go to YouTube where you'll see this podcast at youtube.com/MRCS Maloney. That's MRCS Maloney. You can find me on, again, all of my social media handles are at MRCS Maloney. That's Twitter, that's IG, and YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, and Facebook, it's Marcus Maloney. All right, guys, remember to enjoy the journey, get out there, take action, and move now. Thank you for listening to today's show. I picked up some great actionable items, and I'm sure you did as well. If so, let me know. You can always reach me via social media at facebook.com/MRCS Maloney, Twitter at MRCS Maloney, and of course, IG at MRCS Maloney. You can also always reach me via email at mmaloney@equityri.com. Make sure you reach out to our guests as well. You can always find their contact information in the show notes below. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Join the family. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we tell if we're providing you with what you need for your journey. If there's someone you would like for me to interview, or if there's a subject matter you would like for me to cover, please let me know. Finally, if you're looking for additional information about real estate investing, go to equityrealestateblog.com. Also, youtube.com/Marcus Maloney. Until next time, family, always enjoy the journey.